about your new book.
Thank you.
Money Master the Game. I am a very slow reader. And I've only probably read 4 books cover to cover. One's The Alchemist.
Yeah, great book.
One's The 4 Hour Work Week. And I'm almost finished with yours.
Okay,
I'm
well,
in like
this is quite an accomplishment then.
It's a huge accomplishment for me.
It's a big book for anybody.
It's a huge accomplishment, but so interesting. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of earning a lot of money over the last few years.
Yes.
When before, I never knew how to make money.
Yeah.
I was an athlete.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it to the NFL. That was my only focus, was playing sports. I never learned about how to make money.
Yeah.
So when I was able to dive into this and really learn the ins and outs of making money, but actually allowing money to make money for you.
Yeah, exactly. Make money while you sleep.
Make money while you sleep. It was so interesting. And I feel like I've done a good job of making money over the years, but there's so much more in here that I'm like fascinated by.
Well, it's interesting because I did the same thing. You know, I come from a very poor background, and we had no money for food at times, quite literally, and it was rough. So I want to make sure money wasn't an issue for my future family. So I figured how to make money, and I figured when I was 23, I figured how to make $1 million in a year. I went from 38,000 to $1 million, and you don't do that by some new strategy. It was a psychological shift as well as a strategy shift.
Right.
But then I made the same amount of money for 7 straight years, even though I built a dozen more companies. I helped more people than ever. But it was like unconsciously, well, you want more than $1 million? What are you, are you greedy? and I was actually staying, where was I? I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I arrived at 2 o'clock in the morning on my birthday. I didn't have a private plane, so I had to go like 4 different connections from where I was. And I get in this place, and it's a horrible place, and I call my kids, and I'm talking to this woman on the phone named Maria, who used to run my house and take care of my kids. And I said, Maria, I'm sorry it's so late, but I want to talk to my kids. Oh, happy birthday. She gives me this whole thing. And then she walks me to Mr. Robbins, she says, I never dreamed I'd live in a castle, because I have a place called the Dollar Castle. And I just want to thank you. I feel like a princess. She goes, last night I was sitting in your jacuzzi looking out at the water and thinking how lucky I am, and I'm in the Ramada Inn in those days, looking at this moose head going, this woman's really rich. So I finally decided, listen, if I can make 38,000 to $1 million, it's not about money, it's like growth. So I went, I want to make $3 million, but I want to make more of it while I sleep. But then I really began to realize it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's really your capacity to take your creativity and stop trading time for money. It's the worst trade in the world. Everybody's a financial trader.
Yeah.
They don't realize they're a trader. They're trading time, and you can't get more time. So this book is how to take anybody, an average person, a millennial just getting out of college with a bunch of debt and saying, how do I really make this work? Or a baby boomer saying, how do I still retire? And the way I did it was I said, I want to interview 50 of the most brilliant financial people in the world. Because most people don't know that I've been working with Paul Tudor Jones, one of the top 10 financial traders in history, for 21 straight years, and he hasn't lost money in 1 year in 21 years.
Right.
We made money in the tech blow up that happened in 2000 and 9/11. In 2008, when the market was down 51% from top to bottom, he made 28% positive. Right.
Incredible.
So every day, literally, he emails me, I monitor him, I come see him, I work with him, and he pays me 7 figures a year to be able to do this, and I've been able to continually help him go to the next level. But quite frankly, I've learned more from him, I think, than I could ever teach him.
Right.
And he helped me open these doors. So this book is the best from every self-made billionaire that I could find. Carl Icahn, I'm sitting down with this guy. He just made $2 billion in the last 18 months off a $30 million investment off Netflix. He sent an email or a tweet out. About Apple saying it was undervalued, and became, and 2 hours later, it was worth 17 billion more by a tweet.
Wow.
So the people I've got to hang with over the last 3-4 years have been, I've got a PhD in finance from the people controlling the world's finance. And what I've tried to do is, the reason I did that is make it simple, bring it so I could train anybody else. Because in this business, what you don't know will hurt you financially. So I want to know how to protect people and how to help people maximize. And that's why I did the book.
It's incredible. And what I want to know is why we weren't taught these things growing up.
Me too. Tell me.
Right? So if they were like, okay, Tony, we're giving you the key to the education system.
Yeah.
And how would you what teachings would you apply into about finances, learning about this, how to generate wealth as opposed to trading time for money, but really leveraging it and investing it the right way? What would you start implementing?
Well, the first thing you want to teach anybody, a child, a kid, anybody, is that you'll never earn your way to freedom. You just don't. You look around and you see, Kurt Schilling, if you remember from Boston Red Sox, made $100 million a year. He's broke, bankrupt. I asked Warren Buffett, I said, what made you the wealthiest man in the world? And he smiled and he said 3 things. He said, living in America, great opportunities, having good genes, so I lived a long time, and he said the last thing is compounded interest. And we all know about compound interest, but I give the example in the book of this guy, Theodore Johnson, worked for UPS, never made more than $14,000 in income in his entire life in a year. And in old age, he was worth $70 million. And how did he do it? All he did was he took a percentage of his income. His percentage was 20%. Now his family said, we can't save any money. But he met a friend who said, if you pretend there's a tax, and the tax just took the money away from you, and you never see it, the money just comes out of your account and goes in an investment account, you'll be financially free. And so he was disciplined, he didn't look at it, it happened. $70 million by compounding. So people's mistake is, and kids don't know this, adults don't know this, that you won't earn your way there, but you can compound your way there.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is say, where do you put that money?
That's the trick, right?
That's the secret. Well, the first trick is actually doing. Almost nobody does.
Right.
The second trick is you really have to understand where you're going to get hurt, because
the fees.
the fees are just destroy people.
You have a whole chapter about the fees. I was like, this is incredible.
Isn't it wild?
It's nuts. Like,
I mean,
you lose so much money just on the fees.
Well, just so people have an understanding, 96% of all mutual funds never match the market. I mean, they never beat the market. So I was just on a morning show this morning, and Michael Bloomberg's one of his guys that has some of his money. So I'm, this is the only industry I know of where people think they can be a doctor. They think they can be a financial planner. And I said to him, well, look, the statistics, Warren Buffett taught me this. He said, Ray Dalio told me this. David Swenson, who took Yale from $1 billion to $24 billion in 2 decades. These are people telling me this.
Right.
Nobody beats the market except a couple unicorns that nobody has access to. And I said, I didn't say you're not one of them, but I said, here's the truth. 96% of mutual funds don't match the market. That means 4% succeed. Now, what are your chances of picking the right mutual fund? People don't know what they're doing. They put their money in a 401k. They pick a mutual fund not knowing what it is. If you play blackjack, and you and I play, and you get 2 face cards, and your inner idiot says, "Hit me! I want to get 1 chance in a million when you get ace." You have an 8% chance of winning.
Right.
If you try to get a mutual fund, you got the 4% chance of winning. So what I show people is not only do you not get the result, thinking logically, if I hire someone else to do it, they'll do better than me. But in addition, you pay around 2,000% more than it's worth, meaning you get the same exact product, the same stocks. If you own the index, right? You own a piece of all of America's best companies, say the Vanguard 500 index, 500 top companies, that costs 0.17%, like less than 0.2% versus the average mutual fund is 3.17.
Incredible.
So
Compounded
over time. But first, just hear that so you understand. It's like the average car sold in America is a Honda Civic. It's $20,000. You can get the Honda Civic for $20,000, or you can pay $350,000. That's the difference between 0.17 and 317. But if you look at it over a period of how old are you?
31.
31, okay. So let's assume you and a couple buddies at 35 managed to put aside $100,000, and you manage not to add any more money, but to grow it at 7% in spite of ups and downs in the market. And you're 65, how much money do you have? Well, if you paid 1% in fees, over those 30 years, your $100,000 became $574,000. Not bad for never adding another dime.
Right.
If you had 3% in fees, had the same growth, but 3% in fees, you now have $324,000.
Almost half as much.
$250,000, 77% less money. And you had the same return. It was just the fees. So the world, most people, you ask them, what are your fees? They have no clue.
Right.
So I've created a site where people can go, they can type it in, you find exactly what your fees are and what you should be paying. And it's highway robbery. Where in the world would you pay $2,000% more for the same exact product? You can only do it because the financial industry makes things so opaque, so convoluted, and people feel overwhelmed.
And hard to understand.
Very hard to understand. That's why I try to come in here and go, look, time to become the chess player, not the chess piece.
Yeah.
Let me teach you so you understand what's going on. It's not that complex. They use all these big words, but when you know what's going on, you don't get screwed, and more importantly, you take advantage of the system instead of letting the system take advantage of you.